your ultimate guide to musical ornaments on the violin. If we haven't met, hi, I'm Megan. I'm a violinist and teacher currently based in New Jersey. I've been playing the violin for over 20 years. I have my bachelor's and master's degrees in violin performance, and I'm a Suzuki trained teacher. If you're enjoying my videos, please make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and if you want even more in-depth tutorials plus personalized feedback and direct access to me, consider joining Learn Violin Online, which is always linked in the description. A while ago, I posted this YouTube short where I demonstrated different types of musical ornaments, and I thought it would be helpful to give a more in-depth explanation of each one of these. So an ornament is just what it sounds like. It's a decoration, and there are several different types that you might find in music. First, and one of the most common, is the trill. A trill is notated by TR over the notes. A trill simply means to move back and forth between two notes very quickly. You always trill to the note above the written note, depending on the key signature. So if you were to see a B with a TR, a trill written above it, you would trill between B and C natural or B and C sharp, depending on what key you're in. A trill would sound something like this. There is no predetermined amount of times that you need to move back and forth between the two notes. You just do it as many times as you can within the written note value. You want to try your best not to extend or lengthen the note just because you're trilling on it. Trills also need to be approached in a certain way depending on the type of music you're playing. If you're playing classical or Baroque music, generally the trill is started on the note above. So again, if you have that B trill, this means that the first note you would hear would be the C or the C sharp. Now the exception to this is if the note before the trill is that upper note. So if the note before that B trill was the C, you would not start on the note above, you would just start on the written note. I'm going to link a more in-depth video I did about trills down in the description, so you can check that out if you're interested. Next up, we have the mordent. There are two different types of mordents, the regular mordent and the inverted mordent. You can think of a mordent as the trill's like baby sister or baby cousin. For a regular mordent, you start on the written note and then you play the note above and then go back to the written note. So it might sound like this. For an inverted mordent, you play the written note and then the note below and then back to the written note. So it would sound like this. In my experience, mordents aren't super common. The time where you're going to be most likely to run into them are in Baroque music. So think like Handel or Haydn, but they're definitely less common than the trill. So we have the turn. The turn consists of 5 notes. You play the written note, the note above, the written note, the note below, and then the written note again. You can almost think of this as a mordent and an inverted mordent happening on one note. So if you had a turn written on the note B, you would play B, C or C sharp, depending on the key signature, B, A, B. It might sound like this. Next up, we have 2 different types of grace notes, an appoggiatura and an acciatura. So these both look very similar, except the appoggiatura does not have a line going through it and the acciatura does. So an appoggiatura will look like this. And the main difference between these two is that on the appoggiatura, you want to spend more time on that grace note because the appoggiatura should be accented or emphasized. Generally, we want to bring out notes that are interesting, aka that are not in the key or not in the chord that we're currently playing. When you have an appoggiatura, that's exactly what you're doing. You're bringing out that non-chord tone, you're emphasizing it, you're spending longer on it, you're accenting it. It might sound something like this. So as you could tell, the first note I played louder. That is the appoggiatura. The acciatura is essentially the opposite. So you want the second note to be louder or more emphasized. This looks very similar to the appoggiatura, except it just has a line going through it. And it might sound something like this. That's probably what you think of when you think of a more traditional grace note. Acciaturas can be played slightly before the beat or on the beat, scottaturas are most often played directly on the beat. Next up, we have a glissando, and that simply means to slide. So when you see a glissando, you want to emphasize the slide, you want to emphasize the movement from the one note to another, and if at all possible, you want to stay on the same string just to bring out that slide. Might sound something like this. Now, the speed at which you do the slide and the amount that you play it out, aka how loud you make the slide, depends on the piece you're playing and the style of music. And the last musical ornament I'll talk about is tremolo. It's not really an ornament, but I do see it sometimes lumped in with these other ornaments that I've already gone over. So a tremolo can be done two ways, one with the bow, two with the finger. And it essentially means to play the note with very short, rapid strokes. Tremolo is most often employed in orchestra music, and when this is the case, you do not need or want to be playing at the same time or at the same speed as others around you. It creates this effect, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. You probably have heard it in famous movie scenes. Tremolo, a bow tremolo would sound something like this. The finger tremolo is very similar, except you're moving your bow pretty slowly and alternating between two notes with your fingers. The difference between the finger tremolo and a trill is that, like I mentioned previously, a trill you always trill to the note above. With a fingered tremolo, it can be any two notes. It doesn't just have to be two adjacent notes. Now you know all about violin ornaments. If you have any questions about these or others, please leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe before you go, and don't forget to check out Learn Violin Online.